So Ben Shapiro, as ever, provides the intellectual case against the America First isolationists who say that we shouldn't be going to war against Iran. And as he rightly puts it, this is not America First, it's America Last. It's quite ironic, I have to say, that we have figures that claim to be America First, where they are supporting things that are so blatantly against America's interests. Isolationism is not self-interest. Because if you have despotic regimes that want to destroy you, they're growing in power and ability and capability, and also fighting your allies who are the first, wall of defense, who will then come for you next. You're not really doing something that's in your self-interest. You're just allowing for a ticking time bomb. But then again, should it really be surprising? I want you to see, before I show you the clip of Ben Shapiro, Tucker was recently on a podcast where he was saying that Sharia law and, Islamic societies are so much more advanced than the West. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of problems with the West and lack of meaning and sense of tradition, all these things. But to say that, therefore, the answer is learning from and modelling societies on Islamic societies, which also have their problems in the other way. By the way, you should know that part of the purpose of Israel is to really provide that middle path, that balanced path between these different civilizations, because, you go too far into tolerance and openness and you end up having no beliefs and no sense of structure. You go too much in the other direction and everything's just oppressive and controlled and stifles the human spirit. So that's a separate point. But the point is that he is clearly someone that is decided, for whatever reason, to be pandering to Islamists in Islamic countries. And to call this America First, I find a little bit laughable, to be honest. Anyway, have a watch of what Ben Shapiro had to say. By the way, guys, just wanted to say, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, like our video, comment, hype our videos. All these things really help us to grow, to get into the algorithm, and to continue to delivering videos, which I hope you will really appreciate.
Now, members of the Grievance Party, the America Lasters, people who actually really do despise America's history and her present, are openly siding with China and Russia, just as they have with Iran in the current conflict. Tucker Carlson, who has been openly identified by Dugin as an ideological ally, recently told this to The Economist.
We can no longer be the sole author of terms, of commerce, of anything. We have to share power.
With China?
Of course, because of their scale.
Okay, Tucker's guests make this argument all the time. And just as often, they are Chinese propagandists. Take, for example, Jeffrey Sachs, who's on Tucker's show all the time. He's a true globalist shill, meaning he has called for global government. And he is basically an unofficial spokesperson for the Chinese Communist Party. Here he is making the case that we ought to cede more power to China.
In many ways, the United States cannot compete with China, certainly on manufacturing production across a wide range of industries, can't compete with China in a wide range of diplomatic areas. And this is very disruptive, probably would be intrinsically disruptive, because this is a change of power and a change of the international order. And I think we all feel that it's not a temporary phenomenon, but really the end of the US-led geopolitics, and even more fundamentally, the end of the Western-led geopolitics.
Again, Sachs is a left-wing globalist. He was a big advocate for the idea that America should give up power to China over global warming. Well, Tucker Carlson consistently repeats Sachs's messaging. And he did so over the weekend while interviewing a man he called a prophet. Remember, Tucker's other prophets include holy men like Alex Jones. There's a professor named Zhang Sheqin, a Chinese propagandist. I mean, literally a Chinese propagandist. He teaches high school in Beijing. And he's titled a Harvard researcher, although I can't really identify any of his Harvard research at this point. Maybe it's there, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, here is Tucker speaking with this clown and agreeing that America should give up its hegemonic standing in the world.
What I would do is basically sit down everyone, okay, including Russia, China, Iran, and say, it's time for a new world order where we are partners in this relationship, right? Before America was a hegemon, before the US dollar was a world reserve currency, But now what we want to do is open a dialogue where everyone is respected, where America is no longer the bully, but a willing partner in creating a new economic order that benefits everyone and not just a few.
I think that's the wisest possible advice and probably the only path that preserves civilization. But the one country standing in the way of that is Israel.
So Israel is the tiny country in the Middle East is not the United States, Israel, because Israel, of course, is the one that's blackmailing America into, not giving up its global power. And you should recognize that what he is talking about right there, Tucker with Zhang, what he is talking about right there is what you might call a new world order. You might call it that. Literally a partnership between the United States, China, and Russia to restructure global economics to, quote unquote, not benefit a few. That's what that is. If you don't find that alarming, it's because you are full-scale ignoring what Tucker Carlson is saying and what Zhang is saying right there. Again, Zhang is a Chinese Communist Party propagandist. We should talk about Zhang for just a moment, because to understand why the America Lasters seem to have such unique power in the online space, we have to understand that the America Last philosophy is rooted in a deep conspiracism about the United States. See, here's the thing. To the untrained eye, the eye of a normie American who grew up in America, who loves America, who was born in America, a world with more American power is a better world, a freer world, a more prosperous world. That untrained eye, when I say untrained, I mean non-conspiratorial eye, might look at the increase of power of America since World War II and see overall unprecedented economic prosperity, the defeat of the Nazi Empire and the Soviet Union, the spread of democratic values, the spread of economic freedom. America Lasters, though, see something else. And again, they are both of left and of right. On the left, they see a worse world since World War II, a world of evil American capitalism destroying local communities, of quote-unquote racist military might, overwhelming people of color everywhere. The story of the world since World War II in the left-wing America Last vision is a world of unending tragedy, the failure of the Marxist dream of the Soviet Union, the collapse of a fairer vision to the reality of free markets, the emptying out of left-wing thought in favor of neoliberalism. While on the right, the America Lasters see a worse world since World War II as well, a world of evil American capitalism, emptying out the communitarian world of real America, a world of American imperialism spreading vile secularism abroad, a world of false meritocracy providing cover for an emptying out of so-called heritage Americanism, decided by bloodline rather than American ideals. Those are ideals that they consider a sham and a ruse. This would be why America Lasters are fully in favor of the destruction of American power abroad. But to destroy American power, first you have to change American minds. To do that, you have to explain that a world of increased American power is actually terrible, darker, more evil. And to make that claim, you have to believe a bunch of conspiracies. You have to believe that American meritocracy is actually a lie, that the Declaration of Independence is a lie, that in reality, America is run by a secret coterie of evildoers who manipulate systems and events for their own specific insular benefit. So, that prophet Tucker was talking to, Zhang. Here he was explaining his views on America in a recent interview with fellow America Last hosts over at a podcast called Breaking Points.
If you look at the Epstein files, it's clear that we are run by secret societies. It's clear that the world is run by these individuals who have a lot of power. We don't know who they are, but they control the military. They control the national security apparatus. And these people, there are different names for these people. You can call them the Illuminati. And the Illuminati are composed of three major groups, okay? You have the Jesuits, who control the Vatican. You have the Septine Frankists, which control the modern state of Israel today. And you have the Freemasons, which control the national security apparatus of the United States. And they believe that Israel, this war in the Middle East, is key to the end times in creating heaven on earth. So it's almost like a script that they're following, even though it doesn't make any geopolitical sense.
Wonder why Tucker likes this guy? That is why Tucker likes the Chinese Communist propagandist. Now, again, Zhang believes that this big conspiracy ends with, wait for it. Yeah, I know you won't believe it, Pax Judaica, in which secret societies based in Jerusalem run the world. Again, he's speaking basically on behalf of the Chinese Communist government which is right now controlling 1 billion people and trying also to grab hold of Taiwan and threaten American interests not only in the region but across the world. Here is Zhang explaining the Pax Judaica.
This is a theory, all right? So let's assume they knew each other. What they will do together is create a new organization called the Illuminati. And this organization
if he writes it on a chalkboard, it makes him smart.
Is what controls the world, the Illuminati.
Even if he spells it wrong.
Now, there is a legend that Adam Weishaupt, after he created the Illuminati, he encouraged his followers to infiltrate another organization called the Freemasons.
He's writing on
these
chalkboard. It means he's smart,
prominent
guys.
members of European society. Okay, these were intellectuals like Goethe, these were nobility, these were bankers. And so this is the framework that controls the world, okay? The Illuminati was able to penetrate the Freemasons, so now you have an alliance of the Jesuits, the Jews, the Septuagint Frankists, the Catholics, and the Freemasons, okay? And so this is the alliance of secret societies.
This is Tucker Carlson's prophet over here. Zhang's conspiracy is not unique in this day and age. See, the America Last movement relies on unchecked conspiracy theorizing, conspiracism run amok. And thank goodness for them, that conspiracy is not just on the rise, it's on the exponential rise. Of course, it's not just Candace Owens and her broken brain spewing this garbage. It's now Joe Rogan, the biggest podcaster on the planet, who increasingly spends his days retailing the same sorts of nonsense directly. In his last podcast, for example, he is now spreading the theory that Bibi Netanyahu is dead and AI Bibi is wandering the earth. Like, come on, Joe, you're too smart for this. Don't do this. Disgusting. Really, really vile and disgusting. Well, unsurprisingly, Joe now seems to find the views of the America Lasters convincing. It turns out if you believe enough nonsensical theories about the evil societies that secretly run America, you end up wanting America, because it's run by a secret evil society, to reduce its global influence. Now, this phenomenon is present on the right in the form of that grievance party, but it's mainstream on the left, where people like Hassan Piker are welcomed into the highest circles of democratic politics. Hassan Piker, who again holds hands with people like Tucker Carlson when it comes to foreign policy, spent his weekend, when he wasn't bloviating about the evils of America attempting to defenestrate the mullahs, giving sensual massages to the Cuban communist government while wearing, I kid you not, $1,500 designer Cartier glasses. The average annual salary in Cuba is currently $156.
So great analysis from Ben. And I have to say that one of the things that I find most amusing and bizarre is that Tucker Carlson, who claims to be on the conservative side and America first, as Ben Shapiro noted there, and he said previously, I think at a Heritage speech, he's literally sharing similar policy positions and platforms to far left positions, to communists, to third worldists, to anti-American positions. It's just remarkable to see how that's happening. Just a few obvious examples. Abandoning American hegemony is a position that is super leftist, super anti-American, right? The language of that Tucker Carlson talks about, advocating for a multipolar world order, is the same language used by the Communist Party and by Putin and others. And the platforming of propagandists who are constantly, the people that he gets on, are rewriting history and making people think of Churchill as the villain and the Islamists as really having the grievance, and that it's America who's at fault. America's been provoking the Islamists. It's nothing to do with their Quran and their interpretation that they have to go to war against America. No, nothing to do with that. Another thing is that what's so interesting is you're starting to see all this alignment now happening between like Cenk Uygur and Hassan Piker and Anna Kasparian with the Tucker Carlsons and the Candaces and the Megyn Kellys, etc., etc. It's pretty surprising to see that. The left hates America for capitalism and racism, but Tucker is hating on America, maybe for slightly different reasons, thinks they get too involved in other wars, and the other people are the other nations that they go up against. They are the ones who are victimized. But either way, it's leading to similar conclusions. a real dislike of America being a superpower, a real dislike of America's history, really. I have to say that if you don't believe that America should be the foremost superpower in the world, that's kind of, I think, a very hostile view of America and American values, because this is not a world in which international law and these institutions of the UN and whatever reign supreme, thank God. It is, as it has always been, about different regional powers, national powers competing, and whoever has the most power is most able to set the agenda. And I simply say that who would you rather have? Which country and whose country's values would you rather have as the superpower in the world other than America? If you can agree with me that it's better that America's the superpower than these other countries that are competing for the position because of America's values, rooted in biblical values, by the way, if you agree with me on that, then by definition, America has to play a role on the world stage, pushing back against despotic regimes that want to destroy it. That's not what Tucker Carlson wants. And therefore, I frankly think that he can have whatever positions he wants to have, but to call him the conservative, an American conservative, in the way that we've understood it to date, he, as well as the entire conservative movement, should make it clear that he is not. And you know who's already done that? President Trump himself declared just the other week. He said Tucker Carlson is not MAGA. And he said, ultimately, I'm the one that decides what that is. And by the way, Trump may decide that MAGA means something else and, I'll disagree with it. Fine. But the thing that I find most troubling is that there's almost like this hijacking occurring of certain words, certain movements, certain ideologies. A poisoning of the movements from within. That Tucker and Candace and others are doing it. And that's why we need to be clear on these labels and these distinctions. And there's no doubt in my mind that Ben Shapiro is leading the charge for this cause. Just a moment. Have you ever heard someone say, I've got no problem with Judaism or Jews, it's Israel I've got a problem with? Well, we've just created our most important documentary yet, called Zionism and Judaism, The False Separation. Have a watch of the trailer, and if you want to watch the full thing, just click on the link below in the video description. This one's important. I'm not against Judaism, I'm just against Zionism.
It's not Jewish, it's Zionism.
Judaism and Zionism are completely separate.
Judaism is a faith, Israel is a state.
You can be Jewish without being a Zionist.
Zionism and Judaism is totally diametrically opposed.
I'm sure you've heard this before, from protesters, from politicians, from even well-meaning people trying to navigate the Israel-Palestine debate. But I'm here to tell you that this separation is complete nonsense. It's a comfortable lie. The kind of lie that sounds intelligent but collapses the moment you actually open this book, the Torah, the Bible, and study Judaism on its own terms. In this JTV Plus documentary, we're going to tackle this myth head on. We'll actually look inside the Torah and see how in the very first book, Genesis, there's no mention of law or religion. It's all centered on the promise of a specific land to a specific nation. We'll trace how Judaism, not modern politics, but Judaism itself, is structured around one obsessive, relentless, undeniable claim: the land of Israel belongs to the Jews. We'll reveal why the building of a nation in the land of Israel is an indispensable part of the project of Judaism. Why Judaism is not a religion, it's the divine project of a nation in a land. We'll discover how the Torah preemptively answered the colonization accusation that wouldn't fully materialize for another 3,000 years. We'll explore why, if the land is so central, Jews had to spend thousands of years in global exile. We'll unpack what Zionism actually means, and how anti-Zionism doesn't just contradict Israeli policy, it contradicts the fundamental architecture of Judaism itself. For some people, this is going to be uncomfortable viewing, but by the end, we'll prove beyond any reasonable doubt that Judaism and Zionism are inseparable. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.